When we're solving quadratic equations that involve word problems, the hardest part is really setting up the equation, and then everything else is pretty basic. A lot of times you're going to use factoring. Eventually we might use quadratic formula, but we'll get to that later. For these questions, really what we have to do is interpret what the question's asking and then make sure that we're answering the question that's asked. So when the square of an integer, so right away that tells me that I need to let x be the integer, because it says we don't know what that integer is, so we're going to let x be that. So when the square of an integer, x squared, is added to, so that means we have to do 10x plus that value equals 0. The sum equals 0. So when we're looking at that, we then are going to have this equation, and we know we can factor this. And this is just a common factor, so we're going to have x, and then we're going to get x plus 10. I've just kind of rearranged that. I made it x squared plus 10x instead of 10x plus x squared. And then here, we would have x equals 0 or x equals negative 10. So then if I go back and check, well, 0 squared is 0, 10 times 0 is 0, so that one works. And negative 10, if I look in this equation, which we factored correctly, it would be negative 10 times 0. So we know both of those work. Therefore, the integer is 0 or negative 10. Okay, it can have two possible solutions there. If we look at this next one, we've got the product of two consecutive even integers is 288. What are the numbers? Well, let's let x be the first integer. And we know consecutive integers are plus 1, but this is consecutive even. So this would mean we'd have to have x, and we're doing a product, times x plus 2. It needs to be 2 away. Each even number is 2 away from the previous, and it's equal to 288. Okay, we've set up the equation. We're now going to get x squared plus 2x, and I'm going to bring that 288 over, but I'll do it on the next line because we want to put it all on one side. So now we've got minus 288 equals 0. We have to factor this, and this is pretty big numbers, but because it's a negative here and it's plus 2 here, that tells me that the numbers are 2 digits apart. So if I were to start doing this, I would probably start around 14 or 15. And then I'm going to find that I'm going to have x, and it's going to be 16 and 18. And then all I have to do is look at the sign in the middle to determine which one's positive or which one's negative. It says plus 2, so that means the bigger number has to be the plus. So here's our values. So then this says x equals 16 or x equals negative 18. But that's only the first integer. So in my therefore statement, I need to include a little bit more. So therefore, the integers are 16 and 16 plus 2, or negative 18 and negative 18 plus 2. Okay, we're adding 2 each time, so we'll have 2 sets. This is the first set of answers. This is the second set of answers. Okay, it's not 16 and negative 18 because those numbers aren't 2 apart. Okay, looking at this next one, it says the length of a rectangle is double the width. The area is 162. What are the length and width? Well, when we set this up, if the length is double the width, that would be 2 times W, and this is W. Well, that sets my let statement up for me. Let W be the width. And we're going to say in meters. Okay. When you're doing this, you can always choose X if you want. Some people like to always have X as their variable. I just chose W here because that was the width. Then we know that the area is 162 meters squared. So we would have area equals length times width. We get 162 equals 2W times W. So then we're going to get 162 equals 2w squared. Now there's a couple different ways we could go about this, but I'm going to put everything on one side. So I'm going to have 0 equals 2w squared minus 162. I'm then going to factor. We're going to get 2. We get w squared minus 81. We get 0 equals 2. W minus 9. W plus 9. And then that's going to tell me w equals 9 or w equals negative 9. But negative 9 can never work because we can't have a negative length. So therefore, the width is 9 meters and the length is 18 meters. It's double our width. You just have to make sure that you establish that that negative 9 can't work. This is NA. It's not applicable. You can't have a negative length. Okay. What I want you to do is I want you to try this question and we'll take it up as our warm-up. Okay. When we're looking at this, we need to set up our right angle triangle. Okay. We know, I'm going to just give you the let statement. Let X be the shortest side. So we'll make the shortest side right there. Everything else you can figure out. You need to use your past knowledge to kind of make an equation for this.